it going today? I am Tex, and this is Tex Talks. Today, I wanted to start it off with a quote from a movie, Blast from the Past, with Brendan Fraser. And I really enjoyed the quote when I heard it, and that's why I always keep it with me. One of the guys that there was saying, I asked him about that, and he said, good manners are just a way of showing other people we have respect for them. Now, that's an interesting concept to me. Showing other people that you have respect for them. Why is that important in today's talk? Well, today I'd like to talk not just about the words that we use when we describe other people and how they can affect other people, how they can affect the mood, the relationship. Also, how you go about talking to people in such a way as to assist with change. In other words, I'll start off with a simple introduction. If somebody introduces themselves and they say, hi, my name is, then it's pretty obvious that's what they want to be called. Now, this goes beyond the bounds of when we talk about LGBTQ. This goes to just the basic concept of who a person feels they are and how they want to be addressed. And to me, it's understandable because I come from a place down south where lots of people have nicknames. When I was back home, there was all these cute names, like Boo Boo and Bubba and Cougar and John and whatever. And people would introduce themselves, and that's what they like to be called. It never fails to blow my mind to introduce myself to somebody and say, hi, I'm Tex. And it wasn't until later in life that I started to hear people do things that I thought was strange. They'll go, was that your real name? And I've talked about this before about, addressing people by the name they want to be called. And how it comes across as rude when someone says, hi, my name is, and you go, is that your real name? Is that your birth name? Is that the name on your birth certificate? Is that your official name? People get over it. It's a name the person wants to be addressed as. There are manners and etiquette, like I said, coming from the South, where you might put Mr. or Ms. in front of somebody's name. And you'll call somebody, Mr. John, last name, Mr. Smith. And many times then the person, you acknowledge that they're an adult or that they're older than you. And then when they say, oh, don't call me Miss Smith, call me Ellie. You call that person by their name that they ask for. Why is that important? It transitions over into the idea now that people who have names that they feel comfortable with, and it is the name they identify with. And it also goes into labels. In other words, don't identify people by their diagnosis. And I like the concept to a point. And I'll explain that. So you don't address somebody as the depressed person because it's person first. It is a person with a diagnosis, person first language. And that was very important to make sure that you didn't group people and ID them by their diagnosis, because several things occur. One, if you're ID'd by your diagnosis, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy in some cases. If you have a diagnosis, and I believe it's very important to have a diagnosis so that you know what you're treating someone for and what they're getting, assistance therapy for, but that's not their identity. Trevor Noah makes light of this, and I think it's very appropriate. In one of his shows, he talks about the idea that if you went to another country and you ask that person, who are you? Tell me about yourself. In another country, the person identifies, well, I like to take walks, I like to hang out with my friends, and they start telling you about themselves. And typically, it's been my experience that here in the States, when I ask somebody, hey, tell me about yourselves, they tell me their job, and that's who they identify with. Or they tell me their role. I'm a mom, I'm a dad. That's what they identify with. They identify heavily with the labels. It's interestingly enough, when you talk about religions, somebody will not say, I am a person who is Muslim, Christian, Catholic. They'll say, I'm a Catholic, or I'm a Muslim, I'm Jewish. It's not so big to them when they're identifying. Again, though, each person has a right to identify how they want. How does this play when we go into other areas? The discussion of autism. And there's a very good book out there now, But You Don't Look Autistic at All, a book by Bianca Toeps, Toeps. And I really enjoyed the book, so kudos to her. The idea is, and it was mentioned in there, that some people might want to be called a person with autism, and some people identify as autistic. And that's how they want to be identified. It's not always a one size fits all. And I will go a step further into what I've noticed is that there are people who will speak for everybody. What do I mean by that? I bump into people who speak, and either they may be on the spectrum or they may be of a certain group or population. They identify that way. Sometimes they don't. They take it upon themselves to go and tell people how everybody should address everyone in this group. It's a little tough. Seeing how everybody in the group does not necessarily wish to be identified or labeled in the same fashion. And to me, again, it's one of those cases where you ask people, what would you like me to use? What would you like to refer to in my notes or when I'm writing? What pronouns would you like me to use? How would you like me to identify your diagnosis? Because some people will want one thing, some people will want another, and I don't assume that everybody's the same. To me, again, that's rude. And I ask, what do you want? When it comes to correcting people, and this is the interesting part, I've watched people, and I think in my heart, or at least I hope, their intentions are good. Problem is their intentions have not been thought through. Let me explain what I'm talking about. If I want you to be more sensitive to a topic, a group, a thing that you say, if you say a word that might be derogatory, pejorative, you say a word that is no longer the original definition of the word, or it has been taken by most of society as being, a derogatory word or slang. Then I ask you to please reconsider using it. The thing is we start to get into gray areas now because some words have been around for so long, they are or are not derogatory depending on the case and how you use them and how you even say them. When you hear somebody say something and you say that autistic person, and that's what I'm going to use as an example for this. Oh yeah, John's autistic. And somebody will correct you. No, John is a person with autism. Okay, here's the catch. What did you want to accomplish by correcting that person? Remember in my other video, I mentioned that unsolicited advice always comes across as contentious. In other words, if it was your intention to bring some information to the table, help the person that was talking be more considerate and understanding of other people and what they like to be called or not called, or how they like to be referred to as, or what terms or labels are okay, things like that, you just missed the boat because you jumped in, corrected somebody, and told them how you feel they should be. Do you see how that just happened? You didn't ask for permission to even give them advice, because you're advising them now to use a different word or change their language. You're also assuming to speak for everybody, which may not be the case. In that same situation, if the person says, he's autistic, a lot of times you can ask for clarification, and then it's, he has autism. Okay. That's kind of all you'd have to do in that case. You don't have to go into an attack mode. You don't have to be looking for someone to correct and show them how wrong they are, because again, what are you trying to accomplish? If you want to feel good about yourself temporarily because you stood up and you told somebody they were wrong, think about all the people in the world who are doing that to other people now, because in their mind, their opinion's the right opinion, and they do that to others, and then they feel righteous. They corrected them, they gave them a piece of their mind. And my question is, but did you accomplish anything? If you talk to the person and you ask them about it, or you discuss, in other words, a discussion with them about the terms they're using, the slang, the words, that some people can find that offensive. This is the worst one I've ever seen. There was someone in the room who was the identified group, and the conversation took on an air as if that person wasn't even there. And you had one person who said something and the other person who's trying to correct them, and the person that it actually involves wasn't even included in the conversation. What does that say? So again, asking people, what would you like me to use? And then accepting that. Same way with names. When someone introduces themselves, use their name. Or ask them, what would you like me to use? It's not so hard. It's not difficult. I mean, I say country folk been doing that for a long time. Somebody comes up and introduces themselves as Bubba. You don't give them a lecture about what they should be called. You don't give them a lecture about what Bubba means. You don't ask them if that's what's on their birth certificate. You just say, all right, Bubba, glad to meet you. Done. I don't quite understand why it's so hard now. And again, I understand the eagerness of other people wanting to correct wrongs in words and language, because words, someone hears a derogatory word or slang, pejorative terms. I get it. There are words that don't sit well with me. But immediately when I hear them, I ask myself, what is it I want to accomplish here? And if I push it into an argument, if I berate the other person for using the word, then I know they're not going to listen to my cause. They're not going to listen to what I'm trying to get across to them. And then I'm just another person screaming and hollering at somebody else to not do something that I don't like, because that's how it comes across. So if you want to be an agent of change, then you do it by having a conversation, by asking questions. And yes, asking permission to give advice, asking the other person, would you like to know what I've heard or what I think or what I've been told? And then it's a conversation between people. In other words, you're treating each other as two adults, having a conversation, exchanging ideas, so that when y'all walk away, there's a better chance that the other person is going to think about what you said, instead of you trying to beat information into people like grabbing a square peg and hammering it into that round hole. Sometimes it ain't going to go. Many times it ain't going to stay. And if you want change to happen, figure out how to do it. And I know this goes on, and I hear it all the time. I hear people jump up. I myself have received many lectures from people when I say the wrong word. The thing is nobody's going to get it right every time. And again, asking the question, did you mean to say that? Or do you mind if we talk about that? Or can I tell you what I think about that? You know, where I come from, we call that the soft sell. Who likes to go to a car dealer and have the dealer cram a car down their throat that they don't want to buy because the dealer wants to get rid of that car? Yeah, you don't like that feeling, do you? And neither does someone else who says something and immediately gets jumped on and told. In fact, what's so funny is I will often hear people begin to question themselves and say, I don't know what to say anymore because this individual tells me I should use this word and this individual tells me I should use this word. And obviously, both of the people that told them that thought that they knew what words you should use. And now the person is just confused. And I've had people ask me, what should I use? And I go back to basics. Why don't you ask the person you're talking to what word suits them? And if you're referencing somebody else, then just be careful that the words you use are not disrespectful, to the best of your ability. Notice I said no one's perfect. Hope that helps a little bit. Again, it's addressing a lot of things. It's being respectful to other people, and showing people respect means making the people feel welcome and making the people feel like you're listening to them, that you give them that. And hopefully when you do, you get it back in return. You might not, but hopefully you do. I will say that if you do it more often, you will get a return on that. Definitely much better than fear. You can scream at people, holler at people. They won't respect you. They might be afraid of you, or they might just want you to shut up, so they'll agree with you, so you're quiet. Then they go back to doing what they want to do. If you want effective, long change, have a dialogue, ask questions, talk, be accepting of other people's points of view. You don't have to always agree, but you can accept that that's their point of view and give them a chance to voice it. All right, y'all have a good day. I'm going to lay off with that for now, but it's a start, and I hope it starts conversations with the people around you. You have a good day.